Right, so I'm on to this rather interesting V-tail now. So I've flown the Fling, I've flown the Chief, had an issue with the receiver on the Fling, so I stopped flying that. Because as you can see, it's got a purple wing, so I had an incident with high start a couple of weeks ago, so I ended up having to do a bit of repair on the wing, and I covered it in the purple. The Chief I'm happy with because it's easier to high start now with the dual rates on the rudder, so that's good. So what's this then? Well, it's a 1970s model, and it was probably built around about that time. It's a plan build, and it's called Vedette. Okay, so it's only classed as rudder elevator, so just 2-channel. And what's interesting with this, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the wing off. What's interesting with this model is it's a V-tail, but it uses mechanical mixing. So if I just get my transmitter, alright, so as you would expect, this is actually the rudder servo. So there you go. So left, right, okay, so that's okay. But what about when it gets on to elevator? Well, what it does, this is mounted so it slides. So this actually moves the servo, and both of these rods then move. So if you watch, if I push forward, okay, so you see how that servo slides back, and then if I pull back on the stick, and of course you can push down left, right at the same time. So if we look at the back, you can see I've got my down up elevator, only a little bit, that's what's advised by the designer, and my left and right, but of course I can go down and left and right, up, left and right. So very clever, isn't it? How before there was electronic mixing, we were able to have still had V-tails by means of having mechanical mixing. Alright, so this is going to be the very first time I've flown it. It was a little refurb. All I did work on was the fuselage, so it needed a bit of work on the fuselage, mainly around the bottom end, the tail end. So I had to sort out a few issues there. It did have a motor, so I've converted it back to what it originally would have been, and that's a pure glider. Seems odd, doesn't it? We live in a time when everyone adds motors to their gliders. Well, I've gone the opposite way with this one. Okay, so what's nice is it came from a chap from Retro Modeler. It's a shop up in up north somewhere. And when he found out that I was going to refurbish the fuselage, and I was going to use the same colour, he sent me some of the matching orange, so that was great. So it pretty much looks like how I bought it. The wings are as, and the tail surfaces are as I bought it, except I put the orange film in the middle there just to match up with the fuselage. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple of test glides and see if I can fly it. So let's go for the first little hand launch, just a short glide just to see what it's like. That seemed to go alright, so I'm just going to do a firmer launch and allow it to go out from the top of the slope and see how it behaves. So that seems okay, but there's not a lot of lift out there. And I get the feeling it perhaps could do with a little bit more weight up front. Yeah, you see that movement there, it just seemed to be a bit wobbly and woolly, and it ended up just coming back into the slope, so which is great because I was able to land it that way. So now it's time to try some launches from the bungee. That way hopefully I can start off with a little bit of height and see how it flies then. Right, here we go. Well, that went up quite nicely, and it's got a little bit of speed in flight now, and it's going quite a way out from the slope, so that's quite nice. So I'm just going to keep the speed of it going. It's starting to lose a little bit of lift. Alright, so it's wallowing a little bit there, so I think I'll add some more nose weight. Hopefully that'll help it be a little bit more steady, but that's not looking too bad. Okay, see if I can bring it round now to land. There we go. Well, I'm happy with that as a first bungee launch. The designer George Stringwell designed the Vedette really as a thermal soarer, but it turned out to be quite a good dual-purpose sailplane. So from the point of view as a thermal soarer, in his article he talks about how the Vedette tows well and would do about 4 minutes from an average launch on a 150-metre line. But he also describes the Vedette as his favourite slope soarer for light to medium conditions. He spoke about it penetrating well and would fly in winds of up to 15 knots without ballasting. He also mentioned that although it wasn't designed to be aerobatic, it would perform really nice round loops without much height loss, and had a superb stall turn. That's something I'm looking forward to with this then. And then finally, just something else as regards flying it off the bungee. Once off the line, best results seem to be obtained by letting Vedette fly relatively fast. If slowed down too much, it feels mushy and seems to sink faster. And I have to agree actually with what he wrote there, because I found exactly the same, that the Vedette flew much better with a bit of speed. So when I launched it off the bungee, there was that bit of speed, and as long as I kept that speed going, it flew really nicely. But if I allowed it to slow down, it wasn't so great, and that's just something I will always take into account with this model.
Let's get some lift there. Whoa. Yeah. Come on. Right, back over the fence. Over the fence, over the fence, over the fence. That's it. Okay, landing. You know, it's not a floater. Remember that. It's not a floater, so it needs to be flowing more quickly. So let's go over this way a bit. comes. Meow. Okay, so I'm going to try. No, it's lost height. Not quite enough lift, is it? No. Well, looks like I've got to do the same again. Turn it round. Over the fence, please. Yep. Oh dear.
So I've just finished flying the Vedette for a little while. I quite like it, but it still needs a bit of work on the trim. And I do feel, because it's got, and the designer actually said this in the article, it has to be flown fast. And I noticed that, and it was much better when I allowed it to fly fast. I think next time I'll fly it on Codden Hill. It's a big hill, lots of space, so there I can actually fly it with a bit of speed and then come in to a safe landing again with a bit of speed. Alright, but I do like the glider, and it's another interesting addition to my 70s collection. As you can see, everything's packed up and ready for me to have a little walk back to the car, off home for, I don't know, nice hot coffee and a chocolate biscuit, I reckon, after a nice couple of hours of doing some high starts, a little bit of slope soaring, but the wind really wasn't cooperating today, so that was good. So I'm off home now, and I'll say bye for now.